Let's start with the defending champions, the Golden State Warriors. They were in action at the wee hours of this morning, and the injury crisis is compounding as they lost talisman Steph Curry to a shoulder injury despite scoring 38 points. And for the Warriors, it was a 119 to 125 points loss to the Indiana Pacers. Steph Curry, as I said earlier, scored 38 points prior to leaving the court due to a left shoulder. Looks like a dislocated shoulder, but he will undergo an MRI scan today, and that would ascertain the injury itself and the extent at which he will be sidelined. It's not looking good for the Warriors, considering Klay Thompson couldn't play as he's battling with a right knee injury. You also had Andrew Wiggins out due to an abdominal muscle injury. So it was a short-handed Warriors who took on the Pacers, and aside that, you also had Draymond Green ejected in the fourth quarter of that game and scored a miserable points, just 1 point, just a point for Draymond Green. So it's not looking good, and the loss condemns the Warriors to just 2 wins and 12 losses when it comes to road games this season. There are 14 wins and 15 losses to the start of the title defense, and that's definitely worrisome for Steve Kerr and the Dub Nations, as it were. For the Pacers, Tyrese Haliburton led with 29 points. You had Benedict Mathurin with 24 points. Jordan Poole had 20 points for the Golden State Warriors. Miles Turner had 21 points. Buddy Hield 17 points, and they ran out comfortable winners. The win puts the Pacers at 15 wins and 14 losses to the start of the season. The Pacers next take on the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's on Friday, while for the Golden State Warriors, they'll be taking on the Philadelphia 76ers on Friday, and that's a game that will most likely have Steph Curry missing in action due to that left shoulder injury. Well, away from the defending champions, let's talk about another team doing well at this time, and that's the Cleveland Cavaliers. They were in action against the Mavericks, and it was a 105 to 90 points victory for the Cavs against the Mavs. Now, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, you had Donovan Mitchell, top scorer for them, with 34 points. Lamar Stevens contributed 18 points. Jarrett Allen, as well as Evan Mobley, had 14 points apiece, and Darius Garland also contributed 12 points to the Cleveland scores. Meanwhile, for the Dallas Mavericks, you had Luka Doncic, their talisman, scoring 30 points. Christian Wood also contributed 20 points to the scoring, but it was also an undermanned Mavericks side, it must be said, as Josh Green is battling with a right elbow injury. You also have Maxi Kleber out with a sprained right knee, and that means that the Mavericks were short-handed going into this game. It also means that subsequent games, they may just have to do it in terms of relying on Luka Doncic alone. Talking about Luka Doncic, he made history this morning as his 30 points scoring contribution means that he is the first player in the Dallas Mavericks history to register 35 consecutive games with at least 20 points. Again, for Luka Doncic, is well adored among the Mavericks, and it just shows you how instrumental he is to the Mavericks' cause of probably getting to the conference finals and playing in the NBA finals. The Slovenian is still young and has everything going for him. Well, for the Cleveland Cavaliers, they'll be taking on the Indiana Pacers on Friday, and that's a match that Donovan Mitchell would fancy his chances of increasing his scoring. Well, still talking basketball, let's look at the NBA once again, and that's about the Portland Trail Blazers. Yes, Damian Lillard was in action, and this time around it was a comfortable win for the Blazers. 37 points from Dame Time, as we call him, and that was against the San Antonio Spurs. I'm talking about the Spurs, who right now seem to just get it wrong. Damian Lillard with 37 points, 8 assists and 5 rebounds. You had Anthony Simons with 23 points, Jeremy Grant with 18 points, not forgetting Yusuf Nurkic, who contributed 15 points to the cause of the Blazers. For the Spurs, well, it's not looking too good for them at this time. The loss condemns them to just 9 wins and 19 losses to the start of the season. It's safe to say that they won't make the playoffs if they continue on this trend. Keldon Johnson scored 25 points for them. You had Doug McDermott with 14 points. Keita Bates Diop also amassed 13 points for the Spurs. Now the win takes the Blazers to 16 wins and 12 losses to the start of the season. While for the Spurs, as I said earlier, it's 9 wins and 19 losses to the start of the season. Not looking good for them at all. Let's see if Greg Popovich, probably the most decorated or the most adored, coach in NBA history will probably turn the corner around. He has more wins than any other coach in the history of the game. So who says he cannot turn it around? He has the experience, definitely, although you still want to fancy, other coaches in terms of how they go about the business of winning championships. Well, wrapping up basketball discussions, let's turn our attention now to Basketball Africa League, and that's the third season of the tournament, which will take place next year, 2023. The dates have been confirmed, and the host cities as well has been confirmed. Dakar would host, Cairo will host as well, talking about the group stages, and you now have the finals taking place in Kigali. Let me run you through quickly the confirmed dates. We know quite well that the tournament itself is a 12-team tournament, and you have the 12 best teams from 12 African nations competing. Now, for the Basketball Africa League, the Sahara Conference will play its 15 group phase games at the Dakar Arena, and that will take place from March 11th to 21st, while the Nile Conference will take place at the Hassan Mustafa Indoor Sports Complex in Cairo, Egypt, and that's from the 26th of April to the 6th of May. Now, we know quite well that the top 4 teams from each conference will advance to an 8-game single eliminator playoff that will take place at the BK Arena in Kigali, starting from the 21st of May to the 27th of May. The very best of African basketball, the biggest competition when it comes to basketball in Africa, will take place next year. Let's see how it is. It is the third season, and it should be an entertaining one at that. Well, for France, it's another journey to the final, their fourth final over the last 14 years, and it just shows you how formidable they are as a force, it must be said. While for the Moroccan national team, the dream, the fairy tale has ended, but they still have another shot at glory. For France, it's been a remarkable 24 years, I beg your pardon, not 14, and you have to look at from 1998 when they hosted and won for the first time down to now, and you realize that they definitely have a chance of making it count. 1998, they hosted the competition. They were in the final, won it against Brazil, 3-0 handsomely. Remember, Zinedine Zidane got a brace in there and 2 headers. And then 2006, they got to another final, their second final, 8 years after the first one, but they lost on penalties to the Italians. And we know quite well that, just 12 years down the line from that 2006, which was the last edition, they were in the final and were able to defeat Croatia comprehensively to lift the trophy for a second time. So they are gunning for their third title, but Lionel Messi and company are definitely standing against them, between them rather, and the title. Let's look at the game itself yesterday. The Moroccans were definitely hit with injuries. The captain, Roman Saïs, shouldn't have even played that game. You had the likes of Roman Saïs, the captain. You had Naif Agard, as well as Nasser Mazari, all injured. But the coach, the Moroccan coach Wagari, still included all 3 in the starting lineup, although you had Naif Agard not showing up at all. But just 20 minutes into that experiment, the captain Romain Saïs had to pull out injured, and that was after they had fallen a goal behind. Remember, the Moroccans had not considered a goal from an opponent all through the tournament. The only goal they considered against Canada was even an own goal by the injured Naif Agard. That didn't happen. The injury worries didn't help matters. And by the 46th minute, he also had Nasai Mazari pulling up injured. So that meant that, the Moroccans were injury hit. Not necessarily an excuse for the loss, but just making you understand how complicated or complex their task was, considering they were up against the almighty French team. The French team definitely did well. Theo Hernandez got them up and running. Hugo Lloris made a very brilliant save to keep up, to keep out that acrobatic effort right there from the Moroccans, and you had everyone contributing. Mbappe, as always, a menace, and you now had Randall Kolo Muani getting the second goal for the French national team. Quite impressive display, it must be said, especially how the French have gone about their business of defending their title. Remember, you've had several players injured, from N'Golo Kante in the middle of the park to Paul Pogba to defender personnel Kimpembe down to Christopher Nkunku, a Ballon d'Or winner Karim Benzema. You can go on and on. Do not forget backup goalkeeper AC Milan's Mike Maignan was also injured. The French were definitely injury hits, but they've done so well in hitting another final. For Morocco, well, the Cinderella run has ended, but they've made history. First African team, first Arab team, to be in the World Cup semi-finals. More importantly is, they have a shot at the bronze medal come Saturday against Croatia, and that's one match that you should look out for. It will take place at the Khalifa International Stadium, where Morocco would have a chance to stake their claim as being the best third team in the world from this competition.